Hello and welcome to Meek Hibiscus. When I was little, my mum bought me many different Gameboy games. Some of them were great, some not so great. But one game was completely different from the rest.
That strange looking game was simply called 4-in-1, and as you can guess, it featured 4 games jam-packed into one cartridge. On closer inspection, you can make out the word Sachen and the serial number 4B-005. Using the Bootleg Games wiki, I discovered that Sachen was a Taiwanese company that developed and published unlicensed games for the Game Boy and the NES. Sachen also produced games for 2 different handhelds, the Mega Duck and the Watera Supervision. It turns out that my cartridge is just the 5th 4-in-1 game that was published for Game Boy. They ended up publishing 9 multi-game carts for Game Boy and 5 for Game Boy Color. I always thought this game was odd. The differences are striking when you compare it against the licensed game. The cartridge is a lot more rounded and the grey colour is darker. It's also missing the round imprinted Nintendo Game Boy label on the top. Instead, it just features straight lines across the top. The cartridge is also shorter and wider than a regular cartridge, so it's a tight squeeze to fit the game into the cartridge slot. So now, I bet you all want to see what games are included in this magnificent collection. But first, I want to explain that the only way I could record them was to film my Game Boy screen. I couldn't find emulators of all of the games, and I don't own a Game Boy player or even a capture card. I think this is the best way to experience these unlicensed games, in all their blurry, monochrome glory. When you first turn the Game Boy on, instead of being greeted by the familiar Nintendo logo, it is replaced by the word Comin. Sachen used the name Comin for their handheld games. I always thought that was very cheeky of them, to insert their logo in place of Nintendo's. The menu screen promptly shows up, and you can choose a game by moving a mouse cursor with the D-pad. The first game I'm going to show you is Worm Visitor. The goal of Worm Visitor is to get the worm safely to the other side of the road to visit his friend. Oh, how cute! So essentially, this is a Frogger clone, but when I was little, I had never played Frogger before, so Worm Visitor seemed like a new game to me. The stages contain endless streams of traffic to avoid, large water sections to cross, and train yards to test your patience in. There are also power-ups to collect, like a clock to freeze the traffic, a chili to make the worm move faster, and a leaf. I don't know what the leaf does. It probably gives you more points. The trick with Worm Visitor is getting used to the controls. When you move sideways, you can lightly tap the D-pad to move a short distance, or push the D-pad hard to move further. However, when you move up and down, there is no way to control the amount of distance the worm moves. It only moves in the longer distance, so you need to have that in your mind, that the worm moves 2 spaces when moving up and down. Apart from that, Worm Visitor is an okay game to play during a car trip when you have nothing else to do. The real question is this worm really a caterpillar or just a worm with legs? When you go back to the main menu, you have to turn the Game Boy off and on again because there is no way to return to the main menu from inside a game. Well, I couldn't find a way. Perhaps there's a special combination of buttons you're meant to press that I don't know about. Next up is Arctic Zone. The title screen has a cute polar bear. Could this game be a platformer starring the cute polar bear? No, It's a puzzle game where the polar bear throws snowballs at the half-finished squares moving towards it. I never knew how to play this game when I was younger. I just threw the snowballs in a frenzy and hoped for the best. Now I'm older, I can see how you're supposed to play this game. You need to fill in the half-finished squares with snowballs to make them disappear. And if the screen fills up too much, you can use a power-up that looks like an apple to clear the screen. This game is very repetitive, and the music doesn't help either. The uninspiring music loops consistently, but out of nowhere, the music changes to a less repetitive piece. Though when you move up a level, the horrid repetitive music comes back. Once you've played this game, you probably won't want to play it again. The next game is Railway. This game is all about building railway tracks, which sounds simple enough. But in reality, this is the most difficult game in the whole collection. You have to construct a track between the start and end points before the train starts moving. In the first level, you only need to build a straight line of track, but you have to cycle through the different track pieces until you find the straight piece. Once you have placed down the piece you want, the cursor moves on to the next piece, so you have to cycle round again to the piece you want. It is also hard to tell which piece you are placing down because it flashes between the current and the next piece too quickly. I found this very difficult when I was little because I couldn't cycle through the pieces quick enough before the train started moving. After the track has been completed, the train starts its journey to the end station. You would think this would be a fairly easy trip for the train, going across a straight line of track. But when the whole train enters the end station, the last carriage crashes, for what seems to be no reason at all. I've got no idea why it does this. Maybe you have to approach the end station using a corner piece. Well, I attempted to do that, but I didn't use the right piece in my track, and the train crashed before it got to the station. On my third attempt, I took too long building the track and started placing the pieces down in a crazed panic as the train loomed closer. So, because of all of this, I didn't make it past the first stage, and I was too frustrated to play the game again. The last game on the cart is Magical Tower, which is an arcade-style game where you have to defeat all the enemies in each stage to progress. You are a hand that has taken the form of a pair of scissors. You must defeat the other hands roaming around the floor by following the rules of the game Rock, Paper, Scissors. Once you defeat an enemy, your hand turns into whatever the enemy is strong against. You can also change your hand shape by walking into the same hand. Again, you turn into whatever the hand you walked into is strong against. Additionally, you can find rock, paper or scissors cards to change your shape. You lose a life if you run into a hand that can defeat you. This is a pretty interesting concept for a straightforward arcade game. However, the slow movement speed can make it difficult to dodge enemies, and when you jump and fall, you cannot control the direction. You can find the running shoes power-up throughout the stages to increase your speed, but if you fall down at the wrong time, you can still lose lives easily. Sometimes, when there's one enemy left in the stage, your hand is the wrong shape to defeat it, and you have to keep roaming around the stage until the right card shows up. If you take too long to complete a stage, a creepy, floaty, Grim Reaper looking thing appears and starts chasing you. I don't think there's any way to escape it. It relentlessly follows you until it kills you. Magical Tower is a decent enough game to play if the slow movement doesn't bother you. Like Worm Visitor, this game is okay to play when you are stuck somewhere with nothing else to play. So that's it! I've looked at all of the games in this 4-in-1 cartridge. My final verdict is it has 2 okay games, 1 very repetitive game, and 1 game that I still can't work out how to play.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed my look at Sachen 4B-005. Have you played any of the other Sachen multi-game carts? Please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you next time. Bye bye.